My name is Clifford Paul. I'm the coordinator of the Moose Management Initiative. I work for the Unama'ki Institute of Natural Resources. Also a parent of 5 adult children and 10 grandchildren. We were all brought up to be individuals. We're all brought up to show and use your gifts in the way you carry out who you are, but you are part of a family, you're part of a community, you're part of a nation. So when your parents and your grandparents, your uncles, your aunts, your older brothers, your older sisters influence your lifestyle, you as an individual become part of a collective way of being, I guess, because they can recognize you as a person and they say, oh, I know your parents, I know your grandparents, I know how you are, I know who you are. There's a way in the communities. So sure, our kids and our grandkids, and they are taught to be the best they can be, but at the same time that they are not just an individual within a community, they are part of a community, they are part of a family. It's a collectiveness that the Mi'kmaq really enjoy. I can go any community, and if they ask me who you are, I have to tell them my family's history. And then they just nod their heads and they say they know exactly how I was raised, where I've been, and the things we do as family. So collectively, we are one, and individually, we are part of the big picture. We are all. That's how we were raised. And for me, that would be the late 1960s, early to late 1960s, 1970s. Very formative years as a child. Back then, we only had 3 channels on the TV. We had to be home for supper, if not we missed it. And there was always conversations at supper. So that contributed to the collective identity, the collective means of who I am in my family, in my community. Same for all our siblings. It's funny today because everything has changed. Everything has changed. And we grew up with our friends, our family, and we had all these adventures, the common experience. Some of them were dangerous, some of them were fun, but we all made it home in time for supper. We've all, if we got in trouble, it wasn't just our parents who were watching over us, it was other parents. I remember, I was just a kid. We walked to the mall. Train went by, we hopped the train. We were just little bad guys, eh? And then we went across the street and there was an elder, well, from our community. He seen us. If we were part of a collective community, we knew we were going to get in trouble. Because back then, if we got in trouble outside, one of the parents who would see it will come knocking on our door and tell my parents, they'll say, Alvin, your sons did this today. And he will say, my dad will say, okay, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. I believe you. Today, if you do anything like that, and somebody comes knocking on your door, a lot of parents will say, oh, you're just trying to get my son in trouble. You're trying to get my kids in trouble. So things changed. And I noticed things changed as a child, when I could leave my bicycle in the playground on a Friday and go back Sunday and it's still there. And they'll say, oh, that's Clifford's bike. Don't touch it. Then I started seeing kids stealing bikes in the community. And an elder told me when I was a journalist in the 1980s, I interviewed an elder from our community. And that was the exact same elder who seen us hop the train. But anyways, that's a different story. But I interviewed an elder, and he says, he pointed at the television, and he said, that's the ruination of the nation. That's the 1980s. And he's talking about the 70s when cable television came to the communities. The influx of new information, the influx of entertainment. He says, we don't visit anymore, and we don't talk anymore. And that's part of that collective ways you enjoyed visiting people. He says, now when you visit somebody, you're over their house watching their TV. And if you try to start a conversation, they'll say, wait, I want to hear what they're saying on TV. Or, so things really changed. We still have that sense of community. We still have that sense of family. But if you look at the social media, Facebook, like I could have cabbage rolls for supper. I could take a picture of that, and within seconds, the entire world knows what I had for supper. In the 80s, I would have to take a picture of that, get my film developed, wait for that film to come back, and mail it out to 500,000 people around the world. That's the difference of the technology today and how information is passed. So you'll see people, I think it erodes that collective self, that collective way, that oneness that we grew up with, that very strong sense of family, that very strong sense of community. You ask a kid today, hey, let's go fishing. A lot of kids will go, yeah, I want to do that. Because they don't do that kind of things anymore. Because one kid will be on his device and will say, hey, let's go fishing. And he'll go like this, or she'll go like this. Oh, I'm already fishing. See, the world has changed so much. And I think families today are challenged to keep that sense. I can't say go back in time and do the things we done and grew up the way we grew up, because the world has changed so much. I think families have to work on, strengthening that sense of community, strengthen that sense of your sense of place within that community, and strengthen the bonds between friends and family. That's how I reconcile the two. That's a very good question. Very good question. Because Moose, my job, when I first got hired, they said, Clifford, you're going to manage Moose in Unama'ki. I said, great, I'm going to manage Moose. But guess what? Moose don't listen to me. I can't manage Moose. I can't ask the Moose to go off one mountain and go to another mountain where the food supply is better. I can't do that. I can't manage Moose. I have to manage human behavior around Moose. And we have individuals in our communities who take that individualistic approach and say, this is my right. I can do whatever I want. And it's all about me, me, me. Yet, the ancient agreements we've had with the natural world, through natural law, through the concept of nedugalim, is we are part of this collective unit. Again, the collective spirit of an ecosystem, we are just one members within. So I am made up of the same materials as the plants, the mammals, the birds, the fish. all these things is me. So my sense of Nedogalimp is I'm part of this. This is part of me. I come from this earth. When I die, I go back into this earth. So everything within our ecosystems, everything within our collective holistic world is related. I am related to the trees. I am related to the rocks. I am related to the birds. We are taught everything that casts a shadow has spirit. Everything that has spirit deserves respect. So the key word is respect. So you get an individual who goes into the natural world and takes, and it eliminates in their way of being that respectfulness, the spiritual connection to the natural world. They lose something. They lose that connection. They lose that spiritual approach, and they become individuals. They become kind of like the sportsmen of the province. They become, they don't take on an Aboriginal approach, but they use their Aboriginal rights to take this approach. But collectively, and me, my brother Danny Paul, and a bunch of other harvesters who we call role models, we teach the young that the moose is a resource for all. We are not individuals. We collectively harvest for the benefit of our communities. So we have young people who would get a moose, and now they would say, I'm not keeping that. I'm giving it all away. I'm giving it all away. And we have communities that support that. They would pay for the butchering. They will help with the distribution. They will help with the storage of it because you need community freezers. So in my work, when a person realizes or learns that the moose are here for the collective well-being of the Mi'kmaq Nation, they start to understand that, hey, we're part of a team, we're part of the community. See, the moose is a gift from the Creator. And me, as a relatively healthy person, I have the means to harvest this moose. Individually, I could say it's my right, I can kill a moose. Collectively and holistically, I am, and people who harvest respectfully, we are facilitators of the gift. We pray for the gift. The Creator provides it. We accept the gift through harvesting. We give respect to the animal, the ecosystem, the natural world through prayer and through ceremonies, the ceremonies that we do, and that we make the moose part of the community by sharing it. If I were to look at the resource individually, or if the entire Mi'kmaq Nation were to look at it individually, just say you had 20,000 Mi'kmaq in the province, and you got 3,000 to 6,000 moose, and if every one of them says, oh, I'm going to get a moose for myself, I'm an individual, this is my right as an individual, we would not have any moose left. But if you have 20,000 Mi'kmaq in the province who look at the resource, respect the resource, and understand that we are just part of it, and that we accept these gifts as facilitators, and we share, then you'll have more than 20,000 meals. I'll give you a great example. Every year we harvest moose. The last couple of years we've been harvesting moose in the national park to help with a forest recovery, to bring back the boreal forest, which is damaged by a hyperabundance of moose. So in a 20 square kilometer section of the national park, last year we harvested 37. This year we harvested 50. Now, individually, if our hunters kept all that meat to themselves, that's 23,000 pounds of meat. If you were to price that, if you were to put a money value on it, That's food security totaling a minimum of $254,000. That's 70,000 meals. You can't put a dollar value on that holistic approach to food security through our way of managing moose and for traditional management. You can't put a dollar value on it. You can't undermine that by putting a dollar value on it. But when you crunch the numbers, that's 50 moose, which was provided for charities that we have, that we said we were going to, the charities that we are responsible for, that we are committed to. 5 moose went to those charities, and the remaining 45 went right to the communities, the First Nation communities, including Halifax. And that's at a time when, in the fall, the province announced the child poverty rates in the communities as 35% in Nova Scotia and as high as 75% in First Nation community of Eskasoni. So with us distributing that meat in the communities and with our charities that we have committed ourselves to, our harvesters anonymously contributed to the food security of so many families across the province, committed so many meals. And you know, when you sit down and have a good, healthy meal, you can't put a dollar value on that. So that shows that our harvesters are taking the lead and showing the rest of the world that, hey, we can do this, we can take part in this. Everybody looks at it as controversial, but in our communities and in the charities we help, there's no controversy because they have taken the collective, holistic approach. And our harvesters have done this anonymously. They didn't stand up and take credit for it. They know in their hearts this is what it's meant for. This is a gift from the Creator. We'll facilitate that gift and we'll share that gift and make it part of many communities. So for me, that holistic approach makes what I call work that much easier. It's hard to explain, but it's easy to show. We like to set the example. We just don't talk about moose. We just don't talk about moose management. We are immersed in our harvest activities. We are immersed in our studies. We are immersed in the habitat, changes in the habitat, and changes in moose behavior. So as a Mi'kmaq person who is a facilitator of that gift, you have to instill the knowledge of Netugalim, respect for Mother Earth, respect for oneself, respect for one's family, community, and nation. It all ties in. That quote I said about everything that casts a shadow has spirit. Everything that has spirit deserves respect. It's hard to explain, but it's easier to show. So for the way we do it, and the way we try our best to explain it, but we have to have it in our daily lives. We have to have it in not our routines, but in our way of approaching the natural world, because we don't take, we ask for the gift, and we share.